Next up, we have Claire, and you are talking about tables.
So I didn't really understand the assignment and people talking about their own career. But my career is very, very straightforward, to be honest. I took an obscenely traditional route. I studied electronic and computer engineering, did my internship in Alta Cloud, became Genesis, came back. Here we are. The rest is history. I'm on my way to becoming the CEO someday. Just kidding. I do not want that level of responsibility. Anyway, I am going to talk to you about something that our team worked on for the guts of all of the year last year, which is single table design. It's quite technical, and I'm not going to give a lot of background context. So if it means something to you, it means something to you.
I get it.
Yeah, so I'm Claire Purcell. I'm a team lead and senior software engineer in Genesis, and this is Intro to Single Table Design. So if you know a bit about databases, there's relational databases and NoSQL databases. Relational databases tend to be something like my SQL or SQL, people call different things, tend to have a pretty strict schema. So you store exactly one type of thing in the same table, and you can have multiple different tables. Very flexible ways to query them. So you can join results from multiple different tables in one query. But speaking very generally, I'm not an expert. I believe they are supposed to be a bit less scalable and performant at high loads when compared to NoSQL databases such as MongoDB and DynamoDB. So this is where I'm going to try to bring an SRE slant to it, talking about NoSQL databases. So they tend to have a more flexible schema, but a much less flexible query pattern. So you can't typically join two tables, but they're more scalable and performant at high loads. So the challenge I pose to you, what if your use case requires the best of both worlds? So you need something that is going to be very highly scalable and performant. It's going to process a lot of data. You need flexible schemas, but also that data is relational in some way. There might be some one-to-many relationships, many-to-many relationships, etc. So the kind of data that would typically benefit from using joins and queries. I won't call it the solution. There's probably many ways to skin a cat, like in everything in software, but a solution to this is single table design. So it's the idea of storing different record types which are related to each other in the same NoSQL database table. They are related by primary key and distinguished by a secondary or sort key. So using this, you can query related records together, and it has an effect like joining data from multiple tables in the one query. So that's a lovely definition, but what does it actually mean? How does it work? Because this is a kind of like a 5-minute lightning talk, I'm just going to go through an example that, I mean, it's probably a pretty poor example, to be honest. The examples that we've used, obviously, I can't speak to them specifically because they're internal, and also it would take a lot longer than 5 minutes to give the appropriate background context. So in this little made-up example, we have a database which stores information for employees of companies. One company can have many different employees. There are many different types of employees. So you've got managers, individual contributors or ICs, and those different records of different information, like you might store direct reports on managers. That's not something you're going to write on an individual contributor. The table is information for loads of different companies. And for some reason, we need to ingest and serve up real-time data at really high speeds. And we want to prioritize speed, scalability, and resiliency. So a NoSQL database, it just has to be. How does it work? So this is 4 of, let's say, 4 million records in this one table. The top 3 are for company 1. So they are related by primary key. They've got the same primary key, which is the company ID, let's say. And they're distinguished by secondary or sort key. So these are all different. So the way that it's structured, we've got a prefix for the key so that we can have a bit more information about them. It just opens up more query patterns. So we've got the employee type. So this is manager, and then like a pipe or some kind of way to split, and then the employee ID. And then this one is an individual contributor, employee ID, so on. So in structuring the data in this way, and it's all stored in one table, we can do all these different kinds of queries on it. So if we send a query that says just primary key equals company one, that's going to return all of these to us. We can get all the employees for a company in one query. If we say primary key is company one and sort key starts with manager, that'll return everything that looks a bit like this. So we'll get all the managers for a company. Similarly with individual contributor. And then if you want to zone in on one particular record type, you'll just give the actual sort key value. So I hope that made some bit of sense to some people. In a quick summary, single table design is a practice with different record types. Same definition I gave you earlier. Hopefully it's a bit more meaningful now. But most importantly, you can utilize the scalability and resiliency of a NoSQL database for use cases, even if they involve relational data of some sort. And it also means that for NoSQL databases, you have a wider range of query patterns available depending on how you structure your keys. So that's it. We've made 2 people some friends.